Thank you for joining with me again in our next video as we explore the Course in Miracles. We are currently reading from the text. We are in chapter 20, and we will be practicing lesson number 34 together, and we will be reading Principle of Miracles number 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, clicking on Read A Course in Miracles, selecting the text, scrolling down in the table of contents to chapter 20, the vision of holiness. And we are in section 3, sin as an adjustment. And just to remind you that sin means lovelessness. Okay, let's begin. The belief in sin is an adjustment. And an adjustment is a change, a shift in perception, or a belief that what was so before has been made different. Every adjustment is therefore a distortion and calls upon defenses to uphold it against reality. Knowledge requires no adjustments and, in fact, is lost if any shift or change is undertaken. For this reduces it at once to mere perception, a way of looking in which certainty is lost and doubt has entered. To this impaired condition, are adjustments necessary because it is not true? Who need adjust to truth, which calls only on what he is to understand? Let's keep going for paragraph 2. Adjustments of any kind are of the ego, for it is the ego's fixed belief that all relationships depend upon adjustments to make of them what it would have them be. Direct relationships, in which there are no interferences, are always seen as dangerous. The ego is the self-appointed mediator of all relationships, making whatever adjustments it deems necessary and interposing them between those who would meet to keep them separate and prevent their union. It is this studied interference that makes it difficult for you to recognize your holy relationship for what it is. Okay. So let's see. So the first paragraph says the belief in sin is an adjustment. And we're remembering that sin is lovelessness. And so lovelessness is a departure from what is, because what is love, is unconditional love. It's the force that has all of this working, that doesn't need anything, that doesn't want anything, it just is. So when we enter into the realm of lovelessness, now we create the conditions for the guilt and the fear and the anger and the worry. Lovelessness also is the justification for our separation, for our perception that we are in our own bodies, that I'm here, you're over there, and there is this vast mass of space between us. And so this is the folly of our misperception, right? So then in order to subscribe to this point of view, there needs to be an adjustment. This is relatively new language for the course. So we're bringing up this idea of an adjustment. An adjustment is a change. An adjustment is a shift in perception. And so when we're dealing with perception, now we've stepped 1 degree or several degrees outside of reality, away from reality, because reality is that which is only ever always true. And from the course's point of view, it is that which cannot be threatened. That which is true cannot be threatened. Then the text says, knowledge requires no adjustments. So that makes me think that knowledge is the alignment, is the phenomena within a consciousness that is aligned with truth, because knowledge requires no adjustments. Perception is what requires the adjustment. Okay, and then we're being asked, so who need adjust to truth, which calls only on what he is to understand? So when we have truth, why would we need to make any kind of adjustments to it? Because truth is true. And so then we're also introduced to this new lexicon of direct relationships, and direct relationships are synonymous with the holy relationship. And the holy relationship is where there is nothing that you want, nothing that you're trying to get from the other. It's just allowed to be as it is. And so what happens is the ego, however, thrives on adjustments, on perceptions. And the ego has convinced us that in order for relationships to be successful, that they have to be manipulated and controlled, which is what the personality does, right? The personality is rarely satisfied with how our brothers and sisters shop, especially the ones who we are deeply intimate with within the context of our family or in our romantic love relationships, because the ego attempts to project its worthlessness onto others, not realizing that the purpose of that is actually to see it mirrored back, to see ourselves mirrored back so that we can heal. But the ego obviously fears true connection, which can only be made through true unconditional love, because then that unconditional love will be the illuminator to its own fallibility, to its weakness, actually. All right, let's continue. I'll go ahead and share the screen again, and we'll continue for paragraph 3. The holy do not interfere with truth. They are not afraid of it, for it is within the truth they recognize their holiness and rejoice at what they see. They look on it directly, without attempting to adjust themselves to it or it to them. And so they see that it was in them, not deciding first where they would have it be. Their looking merely asks a question, and it is what they see that answers them. You make the world and then adjust to it, and it to you. Nor is there any difference between yourself and it in your perception, which made them both. Okay. So here we're being told that the holy do not interfere with truth, but the ego does. They are not afraid of it, but the ego is. The holy simply ask for truth to reveal itself, and it does. But the ego, what it does is it instead makes a world of its own and then tries to adapt to the world that it created through its perceptions or its misperceptions, and then gets frustrated and angry at the world it made and by extension itself. And so then in that confusion, we can see that both the world and the self constitute illusions, because they, as we know, are born out of the belief, the original illusion of separation, instead of putting attention on where the light of truth is. So let's go back to share the screen for paragraph 4 and see what happens next. Okay, so a simple question yet remains and needs an answer. Do you like what you have made? A world of murder and attack through which you thread your timid way through constant dangers, alone and frightened, hoping at most that death will wait a little longer before it overtakes you and you disappear. Whew. You made this up. It is a picture of what you think you are, of how you see yourself. A murderer is frightened, and those who kill fear death. All these are but the fearful thoughts of those who would adjust themselves to a world made fearful by their adjustments. And they look out in sorrow from what is sad within and see the sadness there. Okay, so we're pretty much being smacked on the side of the head by a cosmic 2x4 to remind us that this world, the mind created, is made up. We made it up. And as I've said before, these eyes only see what is within their design to be able to see. They can only pick up this fairly limited spectrum of light. Whereas there is a vast spectrum of energy and light that these physical eyes cannot see. The human ear is limited in the spectrum of sounds that it can hear. The human body is a specific size and a specific shape, and so it can only interact with that which is of the same vibration as itself. And so this apparatus of interpretation, which is the body through the senses, is not truth. It's a convincing reality, and it is not reality. Reality is that which is beyond the body, beyond the ego mind. It is the expanded aspect of our nature that holds it all, through which we're all connected. Because outside of the carnal, outside the carne, outside the body, we are one with all that is, just like the spray of the ocean, that drop of ocean that separates for this short time and then returns to the ocean and becomes one with it. So just to remind us of the context that we're in. So this is the next section after Easter. And so now in this paragraph, we're being asked pointedly, do you like the world you have made? And how is it that our consciousness has made it? Well, it's made it because for eons and eons and eons, we have made our point of focus on lovelessness, which then creates fear and guilt and doubt and worry, creates the conditions for the level of consciousness, which is very primitive, to kill or be killed. And even in a modern society, we do that still. We annihilate others through our thoughts, through our words, even if we don't through our actions anymore. So we're still being called to be vigilant. But the question again is, do you like the world that you have made? And here, this paragraph is really asking us to take responsibility for the world that we made. If we are in it and we're perceiving it, then it is our world, because without us, it couldn't exist. Without this point of focus, without this point of attention, it couldn't exist. This world doesn't exist for you outside of your conscious awareness. And so, again, we're just outside of Easter. And so Christ essentially was murdered because of fear, because of a fear of a loss of control, a fear of something they do not understand, because man's laws, perceived laws anyway, were made more important than the reality that was in front of them, in front of Pontius Pilate, in front of the high priests that were rabble-rousing the crowd to choose Christ as the one to be sacrificed over the actual criminal. And so what do we do with that? And what can we do with that as individuals? This inner terror, based on the subscription to the belief that I'm separate, has then been projected outwards to inevitably create that which is like itself. It goes ahead and creates a world based on fear and guilt, and then all the other energies or graces that are malaligned with unconditional love and truth, which we would call the sins, right? And so what this paragraph is saying is that the ego then has to now adjust to the world out there as if it wasn't the cause, as if it wasn't the one that created it in the first place. The Course says that God did not create this world. The illusion of separation did. And so then what would that be to be popped out on the other side of the illusion? What would that be like? What would have to happen? Let's go on to paragraph 5 now. So I'm going to go back to share the screen. Have you not wondered what the world is really like? How it would look through happy eyes? The world you see is but a judgment on yourself. It's not there at all. Yet judgment lays a sentence on it, justifies it, and makes it real. Such is the world you see, a judgment on yourself and made by you. This sickly picture of yourself is carefully preserved by the ego, whose image it is and which it loves, and placed outside you in the world. And to this world must you adjust as long as you believe this picture is outside and has you at its mercy. This world is merciless, and were it outside you, you should indeed be fearful. Yet it was you who made it merciless. And now, if mercilessness seems to look back at you, it can be corrected. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. So let's continue to paragraph 6. Who in a holy relationship can long remain unholy? The world the holy see is one with them, just as the world the ego looks upon is like itself. The world the holy see is beautiful because they see their innocence in it. They did not tell it what it was, and they did not make adjustments to fit their orders. They gently questioned it and whispered, "What are you?" And he who watches over all perception answered, "Take not the judgment of the world as answer to the question, 'What am I?' The world believes in sin, but the belief that made it as you see it is not outside you." I think the easiest metaphor or analogy for this is to take a minute to consider, say, the point of view of a happy and content 18-month-old child that is experiencing being taken care of, unconditional love of mummy and daddy, has needs met, and so is in the world, experiencing, is curious, eyes wide open, absorbing the frequencies, absorbing that love, emanating that love back out through giggles and smiles. And so just see if you can pop yourself inside that 18-month-old and just look out into the world through those innocent eyes. Those innocent eyes look out into the world through creativity, with curiosity, with openness, with delight. All of us have heard the delight of a young baby laughing at that which is so small, but yet when we connect with their laughter, we also find that delight in that which is so insignificant from the busy adult point of view. But when we do that, when we connect with that delight, we can feel it inside of ourselves too. And that's what ignites that inner innocence. So all I'm saying here is, can you see the world through the lens of innocence? Can you tap into your own innocence? In a system that I teach, that I share, to do with soul agreements and archetypes, we do a full exploration of the archetypal realm, because this is the realm of story, we begin at innocence. And we also look at what the illusion of separation does and the world that it creates out of that. But so let's take a little moment right here, right now, to just, with your mind, connect with the innocence of an 18-month-old and just sink into it and endeavor to look out into the world through those eyes and be delighted. Delighted at the rain, delighted at a butterfly alighting on a flower, delighted at whipped cream on their nose, delighted at the puppy licking their toes. It's a worthwhile exercise. It's a worthwhile way to spend a quiet moment. If you need to, just close your eyes, let your eyelids rest over your eyes, and go inside to find that inner innocence, which is intact inside of you, and then gently open your eyes and look out into the world through that vision. And it seems that that's what our lessons are doing. That's the function that the Course in Miracles lessons are doing for us. So whatever helps, right? Okay, so I'm going to go back to share the screen. Let's keep going with paragraph 7. Seek not to make the Son of God adjust to his insanity. There is a stranger in him who wandered carelessly into the home of truth and who will wander off. He came without a purpose, but he will not remain before the shining light the Holy Spirit offered and you accepted. For there the stranger is made homeless, and you are welcome. Ask not this transient stranger, what am I? He's the only thing in all the universe that does not know. Yet it is he you ask, and it is his answer that you would adjust. This one wild thought, fierce in its arrogance, and yet so tiny and so meaningless it slips unnoticed through the universe of truth, becomes your guide. To it you turn to ask the meaning of the universe. And of the one blind thing, in all the seeing universe of truth, you ask, how shall I look upon the Son of God? Let's keep going for paragraph 8. Does one ask judgment of what is totally bereft of judgment? And if you have, would you believe the answer and adjust to it as if it were the truth? The world you look on is the answer that it gave you, and you have given it power to adjust the world to make its answer true. You ask this puff of madness for the meaning of your unholy relationship and adjusted it according to its insane answer. How happy did it make you? Did you meet your brother with joy to bless the Son of God and give him thanks for all the happiness that he held out to you? Did you recognize your brother as the eternal gift of God to you? Did you see the holiness that shone in both you and your brother to bless the other? That is the purpose of your holy relationship. Ask not the means of its attainment of the one thing that still would have it be unholy. Give it no power to adjust the means and the end. Okay, the only thing I want to bring to mind here with this paragraph is that essentially you've been given the prescription, we've been given the prescription for what is a holy relationship. So it's worthwhile, I think, taking a screenshot of this paragraph. So let's go over it again. Think of any kind of relationship, any interpersonal dynamic, and ask, did you meet your brother with joy to bless the Son of God? And did you give him thanks for all the happiness that he held out to you? Okay, so did you meet your brother and sister with joy? Did you bless your brother or sister as the Son of God? Did you thank your brother and sister for the happiness they brought to you? All right, goes on. Did you recognize your brother and sister as the eternal gift of God to you? Still more, did you see the holiness that shone in both you and your brother to bless one another? Because the job is the same, right? We're the same in this. We're the same in the illusion, and we're the same in the pure holy light that is eternally within us. It's just a little fogged up. It's just a little clouded over. Okay, let me go back to share the screen for paragraph 9. Okay, let's look. Prisoners bound with heavy chains for years, starved and emaciated, weak and exhausted, and with eyes so long cast down in darkness they remember not the light, do not leap up in joy the instant they are made free. Wow. It takes a while for them to understand what freedom is. You groped but feebly in the dust and found your brother's hand, uncertain whether to let it go or to take hold on life so long forgotten. Strengthen your hold and raise your eyes unto your strong companion, in whom the meaning of your freedom lies. He seemed to be crucified beside you, and yet his holiness remained untouched and perfect, and with him beside you, you shall this day enter with him to paradise and know the peace of God. Yeah. Wow. So I've mentioned this before. One of my friends during the COVID madness, which it was, this spell cast, had said to me that we are born into a crime scene. And I have taken stock of that. And I see how that's true, because we've been born into these systems that, as I've been saying, and as the Course illustrates, is an effect of an illusion, an effect of lovelessness. And so how could it be any other way that it is a slave system, and that we have the illusion of freedom, especially in the Western world? However, the last 5 years have really illustrated to us that there are systems in place that really only want a certain kind of storytelling, a certain kind of action that fits into that model. And just like with Jesus, that if you stand up to that, if you go into the temple and start turning some tables, oftentimes in this world, it has not ended well for the body, for the mind. That said, it could be an avenue to liberation from the body and to return home to the Creator. This paragraph is worth reading a few times over and asking, how am I that slave? And am I truly free? The paragraph is also making us look to our brothers and sisters' holiness in order to be able to see our own, because it seems like that it's not enough to just affirm your own holiness. That look to your brothers and sisters' holiness to find your own, because it's in them that your strength lies, your freedom lies, the truth lies. Okay, I'm going to go back to share the screen for paragraph 10. Such is my will for you and your brother, and for each of you for one another and for himself. Here there is only holiness and joining without limit. For what is heaven but union, direct and perfect, and without the veil of fear upon it? Here are we one, looking with perfect gentleness upon each other and on ourselves. Here all the thoughts of any separation between us become impossible. You who were a prisoner in separation are now made free in paradise. And here would I unite with you, my friend, my brother, and myself. Wow. Let's continue for paragraph 11. Your gift unto your brother has given me the certainty our union will be soon. Share then this faith with me, and know that it is justified. There is no fear in perfect love, because it knows no sin, and it must look on others as on itself. Looking with charity within, what can it fear without? The innocent see safety, and the pure in heart see God within his Son, and look unto the Son to lead them to the Father. And where else would they go but where they will to be? You and your brother now will lead the other to the Father, as surely as God created his Son holy and kept him so. In your brother is the light of God's eternal promise of your immortality. See him as sinless, and there can be no fear in you. I just want to share, some people over the course of my life have heard my story and reflected back at me and said, wow, you're so courageous, you're so brave. And it hasn't landed as true for me, because for me, I didn't feel courageous or brave because there was nothing to be courageous or brave about. Somehow, what I realized later that a lot of people don't have is that I had this inherent sense of safety. Somehow, the world had my back, even though some really unwanted, unpleasant, unexpected things took place. Still, my sense of safety remained intact and has remained intact. And I would say now, as an adult, that actually this sense of safety is a deep-seated faith. It's a faith that is so, it's so ancient that it precedes my own mind, my own consciousness, my own personality. And so, yeah, so no matter what, yeah, things can show up, unwanted, unexpected, and unpleasant things. And so as an adult, it can, catch me. But then it's quickly turned around into humor, where the point of view is adopted that, well, somehow it's for me, somehow it's helping my soul actually, and it's more helpful to be curious about it than to be resistant about it, to go to war with it. That has been my finding. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen as we now move on to our lesson. So we're going to the workbook for students, and we are at lesson 34. And here we are at now one of my favorite lessons. Perfectly on time, right? Given the section of the text that we've just been reading. I could see peace instead of this. Wow. All right, so I'm going to have the narrator read this for us, and then we'll practice together.
Lesson 34. I could see peace instead of this. The idea for today begins to describe the conditions that prevail in the other way of seeing. Peace of mind is clearly an internal matter. It must begin with your own thoughts and then extend outward. It is from your peace of mind that a peaceful perception of the world arises. 3 longer practice periods are required for today's exercises. 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening are advised, with an additional one to be undertaken at any time in between that seems most conducive to readiness. All applications should be done with your eyes closed. It is your inner world to which the applications of today's idea should be made. Some 5 minutes of mind searching are required for each of the longer practice periods. Search your mind for fear thoughts, anxiety-provoking situations, offending personalities or events, or anything else about which you are harboring unloving thoughts. Note them all casually, repeating the idea for today slowly as you watch them arise in your mind, and let each one go to be replaced by the next. If you begin to experience difficulty in thinking of specific subjects, continue to repeat the idea to yourself in an unhurried manner without applying it to anything in particular. Be sure, however, not to make any specific exclusions. The shorter applications are to be frequent and made whenever you feel your peace of mind is threatened in any way. The purpose is to protect yourself from temptation throughout the day. If a specific form of temptation arises in your awareness, the exercise should take this form. I could see peace in this situation instead of what I now see in it. If the inroads on your peace of mind take the form of more generalized adverse emotions, such as depression, anxiety, or worry, use the idea in its original form. If you find you need more than one application of today's idea to help you change your mind in any specific context, try to take several minutes and devote them to repeating the idea until you feel some sense of relief. It will help you if you tell yourself specifically, I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry, or my thoughts about this situation, personality, or event with peace.
You know what's funny? I have studied the Course in Miracles for so many years, and sometimes, more often, I've said this before, it's like I'm reading it for the first time. I don't remember that extra little turnaround bit. And one of the thoughts that I entertain is that does greater consciousness rewrite it, given where we're at? So this practice is going to be an internal one where our eyes are closed. We're going to be practicing for 5 minutes together. I will bring up the language again so that you can see it, put it side by side with our timer. As usual, as we prepare for doing our lesson together, just start to settle into the support that's here, that's holding you in just the right amount. Just bring your attention home here to what's true. And what's true is that you have an abundance of unconditional love and support available to you, supporting you in just the right amount. And so we can bring our attention home to the breath and just be grateful for the great gift of respiration, re-spiriting. We have this opportunity to be an instrument of grace. And so one way to remind ourselves of that is just to bring our attention to the gift of the breath. All right, so I'm going to go back to share the screen so that you can see the language. And I will go ahead and start the timer. So for 5 minutes, starting now. Eyelids resting over your eyes and just searching the mind for any ideas that steal your peace, saying to yourself as these different situations arise in your mind, I could see peace instead of this. And if you really want to change your mind in regards to a specific situation, you can say, I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry, or my thoughts about this situation, the personality or the event, with peace. I can replace my thoughts about this situation with peace. I can replace my thoughts about this person with peace. I can replace my thoughts and feelings about that event with peace. Okay, that is our timer. And so just to remind you, the instructions are to practice this lesson 3 times in a day for 5 minutes, in the morning, in the evening, and at one time during the day. As I've said before, with a 3-session practice, that it's good to arrange it around meals. So as you wake up, before breakfast, then around your midday meal, and then at the end of the day, perhaps before dinner, after dinner, or at bedtime. And so in these practice periods, you're searching your mind for thoughts that are fear-based, anxiety-producing, offending personalities, offending events, or anything that results in unloving feeling inside. And so you just bring them to mind casually and then repeating the idea. And then you're encouraged to practice throughout the day in the face of any situation that threatens your peace. And then you're given the language for that. So you might want to take a screenshot so you have the language. So the original language for the lesson is, I could see peace instead of this. And then we're given extra affirmations where I could see peace in this situation instead of what I now see in it, which is an interesting turn of phrase. Or finally, I can replace my feelings, or I can replace my thoughts with peace. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again as we look at our principle, as we review principle number 2. So I'm clicking on the text, the meaning of miracles, principles of miracles, number 2. And you can also take a screenshot of the principle so that you can contemplate it throughout the day. All right, principle number 2. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. Okay. And love is their source. Holiness is their source. Divinity is their source. Divine wisdom and intelligence is that source. Divine will is that source. All right, and before I go, I want to invite you to any of the online offerings that I have. You can find the access links on the AlilaCenter.org website. You just click on the calendar and you can find the access links there in the description for the event. The typical offerings are the mindfulness-based meditation class, which is on the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on the 4th Monday of the month is the meditation, natural healing, and self-help class. In person on May the 18th, I'm doing a intensive into the archetype work and the sacred soul agreement work, if you are local or if you are wanting to travel. And I also have put a 1-day meditation retreat on the calendar for June the 1st. But that will be in person. All right. Thank you again. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Bye.